Clemson's Greatest Games is brought to you by Roto-Rooter. When you need a local plumber fast, call Roto-Rooter. And by First National Bank. Find a branch or ATM near you at fnb-online.com.
From the pocket, looks down the field to Theon Kane, and he collects it for a Clemson touchdown. Clemson in the pocket, shoots it downfield for Kane again, who makes a diving catch for a touchdown. And taking a shot, losing the ball. Clemson's got it. Watson kicks it, pitches it across the middle. Touchdown, Williams. Forsyth out of the backfield, didn't see him and throws a pick. Slant, Scott. Fight spring and walks in. A 1-2 punch from the Tigers.
So Clemson taking on Virginia Tech in 2017, and there were two big question marks about this Clemson team coming into the season. One was, how are you going to replace Deshaun Watson? Kelly Bryant was the answer for 2017. Also, how are you going to replace all that defensive talent? Was the defense going to be good enough in 2017? The answer through the first 4 games was absolutely yes. The defense was great, and Kelly Bryant had done a fantastic job of replacing Deshaun Watson in the offense. But now you got to go to Lane Stadium and take on Virginia Tech. That Hokie crowd, Enter Sandman at the beginning of the game. This was going to be the toughest test of the season for this Clemson team.
Now, there was a lot of interest in the Clemson-Virginia Tech game, and proof of that was the fact it was the Saturday night primetime game on ABC. So both teams were ranked in the top 12. The Tigers were number 2, and Virginia Tech was number 12. Both squads 4-0.
Going into the Virginia Tech game, it's a battle of two undefeateds, very still early on, though, in the season. Clemson, where they should be, undefeated at this point, coming off the national championship and going into 2017. But for Virginia Tech, under Justin Fuente, who, by the way, had interviewed for the offensive coordinator job at Clemson, Chad Morris got that job, so Justin Fuente may be a little bit more want to in this game, but he has his team also undefeated.
So now you go up on the road, you go up on the mountain to Blacksburg, Lane Stadium, Virginia Tech, game day. It's going to be great, right? So everybody's excited about this game because if you think about Virginia Tech, you think about Lane Stadium, you think about the Gobblers, the big turkey legs that they have. Think about them jangling the keys. It's Enter Sandman when they come in the stadium. Justin Fuente, the Virginia Tech head coach, they had lost to Clemson the year before in the ACC championship game. This was validation for them. Are they going to be able to come out? Are they going to be a player in the ACC?
There's a lot of pregame talk also about the two quarterbacks. Josh Jackson was the young quarterback for Virginia Tech who had gotten them off to the 4-0 start. He had just 1 turnover in the first 4 games. Pretty good for a rookie quarterback. And then you had Kelly Bryant for the Tigers, who was trying to replace the legendary Deshaun Watson, and he had done a great job of it so far with 4 straight victories, including a big win over Lamar Jackson and Louisville just a couple of weeks earlier.
They're ranked number 12, and nobody had played up at that stadium before. So for us, it was a legendary stadium. They had this crazy Sandman going, and I'll never forget that Monday, just Sweeney showing us that Sandman and showing us that energy and kind of like, this is what you got to look forward to, relish it. And so going into that game, we were hyped up.
The preparation for Virginia Tech was different for sure because you only heard Metallica at practice. So we would go in the indoor and just blast it where there's no communication for anybody. Nobody can hear anything. That's what Coach Sweeney likes to do, whether that's when we go to USC or places like that. We just turn up the music as loud as we can and figure it out from there.
Even though Virginia Tech's lost a bit of luster, is a hostile place. When you go in there and they're playing Enter Sandman, the stadium's shaking a little bit. It's night game. That's tough. I mean, child of the 90s here, that's brutal. I mean, that is a fearsome place to go play.
It's Enter the Sandman. It's a night game in Blacksburg. It's Hokie Stone. It's Bruce Smith, and they brought everybody back. There was a who's who of Virginia Tech just for this game, trying to get the crowd energized and going. They did exactly that. But Clemson will come out very early on in this game and take it all away.
Founders Federal Credit Union is your credit union. We are devoted to serving you through good and bad, and through highs and lows. We are committed to standing by you, our members, our communities, our family. Together, we can persevere through these times. We are your credit union, and we are here for you. Relax with Founders Federal Credit Union.
As a child, I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to give back to the community. Going to college, that's the first step. And the Life Scholarship just opened up doors because you're getting additional funding while I was continuing my education. I saw that there was a need in the community, so I started mentoring students within that community. I feel satisfied when they have that aha moment. It's so cool.
Roto-Rooter Zero Contact Service is your assurance that we're putting safety first. On the job, we'll keep a safe distance, wear boot covers, face masks, disposable gloves, and other protective gear. We're following CDC guidelines, washing hands, and disinfecting touch points. And we'll put on fresh gloves before handling your paperwork and credit cards. You can depend on Roto-Rooter to lead the way in safety with Zero Contact Service.
Every college football fan knows that there are certain venues that just have this reputation as far as being tough places to play at. And Virginia Tech's Lane Stadium is definitely one of those. I mean, this place is even hard to get to. Then you've got Inner Sandman, you've got the Lunch Pail, and we've seen over the years some of the best teams in the country struggle at Virginia Tech. And this was going to be one of those questions: how would Kelly Bryant handle this type of environment, this atmosphere? Both teams are undefeated, College game day is there, and there's a lot of excitement for Virginia Tech trying to make a splash on the national scene, and beating the defending national champions would definitely do that. But the Tigers in this game, they quickly quieted the crowd.
They would drive for 3 early on, take a 3-0 lead, and then Kelly Bryant would really make one of the best throws that I've seen him make his entire career.
Kelly Bryant found a wide open Tavion Feaster for 60 yards and a score to put the Tigers up 10-0.
He looks left, the entire defense flows that way, and nobody is within 10 yards of Tavion Feaster right side.
Hokies go blitz. Bryant has time and has a wide open Feaster. Feaster racing to the end zone. They forgot about the tailback and he makes him pay.
Feaster's a really fast dude, and Virginia Tech found out how fast running up the sideline. So we were super juiced for them, seeing them hit that play, and it just gives life to the sideline when you hit big plays like that.
Nobody's paying attention to Tavion, and of course Tavion's got that track star speed. And Kelly just kind of flicks it out over to him, real easy throw over on the sideline. And from there, it was just a foot race.
It's the best energy in the world to go into an away stadium, and they have great fans, a great fan base, and they're really rocked up for the game. For me, it was the best feeling in the world to go out there and feel like an enemy.
I remember Justin Fuente, I remember Bud Foster just kind of going down. Their heads were dropping, and it's like, how do you stop it? How do we stop this? From then on, the entire tenor of the stadium changed. After that particular play, it was never as loud again.
At that point right there, you could tell Virginia Tech had some good players. Clemson had the complete team. There were just more of them, and you could tell the talent difference at that point.
It was obvious from the opening whistle that Clemson was the better football team, that offensive line for Virginia Tech wasn't going to get any headway. They weren't going to give their quarterback any time, and Clemson just looked like the better team from the first whistle.
So Virginia Tech came back in their first possession of the second quarter and got a field goal to make it 10-3. And they were feeling pretty good late in the second quarter, only down 7. But as Clemson has done many times in the Dabo Swinney era, Clemson got a late touchdown drive in the second quarter. Kelly Bryant hit a nice pass to Kane for 21 yards that set up a touchdown run by C.J. Fuller, giving Clemson a 17-3 halftime lead.
And Fuller behind a 2 tight end look, able to hammer straight ahead for the touchdown. Showing his strength.
I would say by halftime, we felt like, oh man, we got their number. Because everything we called was just the perfect rebuttal to what they were calling. It was just a perfect chess match between Coach Venables and their offensive coordinator. And we just felt like we were dominating on all sides of the ball.
But what they were doing defensively to Virginia Tech was really what I think took their crowd out of it. People are there, yes, people are there to cheer on their defense, but they're there to yell and scream for what your team does offensively. And Clemson just wasn't having any of it. They were shutting down Virginia Tech offensively. And that, I think, really helped because you could get the sense that once Clemson jumped out to that 10-0 lead and then also leading at halftime as well, that the crowd already kind of knew in the back of their mind after the first 30 minutes of play that this wasn't going to be good for the home team in any way, shape, or form.
The Tigers are up 17-3 heading into halftime, but this game's not even that close. I mean, it's clearly evident that you could see Clemson has the better team, they have more talent, and now it's all about just making some halftime adjustments to keep that type of performance up in the second half.
This segment was brought to you by First National Bank, helping businesses and individuals achieve their financial goals.
We're behind people rising to the challenge and neighbors looking after neighbors. We're behind small businesses with big ideas and struggling companies looking towards tomorrow. At First National Bank, we're behind every part of our community. We're working around the clock to ensure you have all the financial guidance and resources you need. And no matter what the future holds, you'll find us right where we've always been, behind you all the way.
Don't wait for tomorrow. Make the days count. Gatorade has carbs to fuel and electrolytes to help replenish, so you can count on the proven formula. Nothing beats Gatorade.
Coming out of halftime, Tigers are up 17-3, and they've dominated the first half. But remember, this is a game on the road. This is a top 15 team, Virginia Tech, Lane Stadium. This crowd can get into the game pretty quickly, and it was all about here in the second half. You had to keep the crowd out of the game.
So the Tigers are up 17-3 at halftime, and then they've got the ball to start the second half. Well, the first drive of the second half was not good for the Tigers as they lost 14 yards. Had to punt, but then Virginia Tech had a turnover. Dexter Lawrence forced a fumble, and it was recovered by Dorian O'Daniel. So after the fumble recovery by Dorian O'Daniel, the Tigers drove to the 1 yard line, and Feaster scored to put the Tigers in a pretty commanding position, 24-3.
Feaster, touchdown Clemson. Not really a gamble the way they've been running the football, but yes, Clemson does stretch the lead, and now.
So the Tigers have a 24-3 lead going into the fourth quarter. But as Virginia Tech teams have been noted to do over the years, they had a big special teams play. Stroman, their fine punt returner, caught a ball full sprint on the run and just kept on going and brought the ball inside the 5 yard line, which then set up a short touchdown run by Savoy.
Got Key, the H-back in the backfield. This is Savoy on the end around. He'll score. Tech's first touchdown tonight.
So after the Virginia Tech touchdown, it's 24-10. And the Hokies then stopped Clemson in the next possession. So they got the ball back. It's 24-10. There's still plenty of time left in the fourth quarter. And now, once again, Dorian O'Daniel comes up with a big play.
The ball goes off the receiver, kind of bounds off of the kid's helmet, and Dorian somehow keeps the concentration and stays with it and picks it up and takes it into the end zone from 22 yards out. That was really the game sealer at that point. Put Clemson up 31-10. And at that point, you just knew things were over. Clemson was going to get out of Blacksburg undefeated, staying undefeated also in the ACC, and continue the march back to the college football playoffs.
Complete, no intercepted. Swipe by Dorian O'Daniel, who's going to take it back. Bobbled by Henry Murphy.
Clemson dominates the game against Virginia Tech. Offensively, yeah, you can look at the numbers, but certainly defensively. You know, maybe I should say that Dorian O'Daniel dominated this game for Clemson because he was the show. Number 6, he was all over the field in this game. He made 10 tackles to lead Clemson. He recovered a fumble. He picks off a pass, takes it for a pick 6 that really seals the contest. So Dorian O'Daniel, and it seemed this way every time that Virginia Tech or Georgia Tech would show up on the schedule, number 6 figured out a way to have a big game.
And that defensive line, the linebackers, man, Kendall Joseph, Dorian O'Daniel, they shut down that Virginia Tech running game. It was kind of, they would run like that little trap offense. They'd run, sometimes a little pitch. Nothing that they were doing was working.
So when Dorian O'Daniel, he picks that ball off and he returns it for a touchdown, I mean, he just had the biggest smile on his face. He's celebrating, and for that game was just so fun as a defender. As you recall, Austin Bryant had a crazy interception with it was just all kind of plays, and everybody was just firing on all cylinders. And that just goes back to the week in practice. We had a great week in practice, and whenever we have a great week in practice, it usually shows.
This was arguably Dorian O'Daniel's best game as a Tiger. He had 10 tackles in the game. He had a pick 6. He had a fumble recovery, and he had a sack. He did a little bit of everything in this game, and it was a contest that I'm sure really opened the eyes of a lot of pro scouts. And of course, he went on to play for the Kansas City Chiefs, and early in his career earned a Super Bowl championship ring.
When the game finishes, you look up at the scoreboard and you see Clemson wins 31-17, but the score doesn't even tell the story of this game. This was a dominant performance all the way around, and just showcases what Brent Venables can do even on the road, shut down Virginia Tech. And then there was a question mark how Kelly Bryant would actually respond to this type of atmosphere and environment, and he passed that test with flying colors and just built more confidence for the Tigers as their quest for an undefeated season.
This segment was brought to you by Roto-Rooter. When you need a local plumber fast, call Roto-Rooter.
Roto-Rooter Zero Contact Service is your assurance that we're putting safety first. On the job, we'll keep a safe distance, wear boot covers, face masks, disposable gloves, and other protective gear. We're following CDC guidelines, washing hands, and disinfecting touch points. And we'll put on fresh gloves before handling your paperwork and credit cards. You can depend on Roto-Rooter to lead the way in safety with zero contact service.
So what makes your house a home?
Sitting on the front porch, relaxing at the end of the day.
Hands down, my wife's spaghetti.
A sense of security.
I'd say making it my own.
Playing with my son, definitely.
For whatever makes your house a home, we're here to protect it.
America, we want to help get you back to it. And here's how, with the Ford Promise. Visit your Ford dealer. Finance a new, certified pre-owned or used vehicle through Ford Credit, and if you lose your job, you can return it for up to 1 year from the day you bought it. You can also get 0% APR financing for 72 months across the Ford lineup. Let us help get you back to it. Contact your Carolina Ford dealer today for great offers including 0% APR financing for 72 months across the Ford lineup.
So the Tigers win this one 31-17. Kelly Bryant, magnificent again, both through the air and almost had 100 yards rushing as well. A true dual threat quarterback. And what can you say about the defense, and especially Dorian O'Daniel with the interception? Tigers defense does spectacular again in this one. There are no questions left by Clemson Nation. This team is delivering and in the national title hunt again.
This was a game that Virginia Tech, they wanted for that validation. They lost to Clemson the year before. Everybody was kind of picking them to go back to the ACC championship game. This was the measuring stick. Would Virginia Tech be able to measure up? And after the game, it was obvious that they didn't quite measure up. They were a good football team, but Clemson had played for the national championship recently. Clemson was the team that was building and really starting to get really good. And Cam Phillips said, we're just not there yet. And that stuck with me, that here's another team in the ACC. Everybody wants them to be a challenger, but they're just not there yet. And as Justin Fuente said, that was a ticking time bomb, and it went off.
And Kelly Bryant, it may have been his best performance of the year because he was steady, he was calm, cool, collected, he was outstanding in the pocket in that game, and he played his role masterfully in that moment. I would say even better than the game against Louisville.
Kelly, when he comes out, if you take a look at the offensive stats, he only completed 12 passes in the contest, but he also carried the ball and had almost 100 yards rushing in the contest, 94. And a big part of that really came in the second half. Third quarter, from what I remember in particular, when Clemson was really getting control of the football game, when they had to have sustained drives, when they had to work maybe a little bit of the clock, because certainly you want to do that on the road in a hostile environment. And it was Kelly that was running the read option really, really well, knowing when to hand it off and knowing when to keep it.
So this was really a good game for Kelly Bryant. Not only did he record a win as a starting quarterback against the number 12 team in the country on the road, but he had 94 yards rushing. He had 186 yard passing. Just a terrific all-around performance.
What's funny about the Virginia Tech game is that it really wasn't that close. It was never that close. And you could sense that in the way the crowd responded. The crowd there in Lane Stadium sort of felt it. You could feel the angst through the TV. I was watching at home. You could feel the angst when Clemson was moving the ball. There's always a difference between a crowd that's cheering because they really have to and a crowd that's cheering because they want to. And Virginia Tech, when they were on defense, they felt like they had to stand up because if they didn't, Clemson was going to steamroll right through them.
So you definitely want to, when you got a road game, it's definitely a lot more fun to travel back when you have the win. And so for us, after you get a big time win, you play so great. Everybody's relaxed, the ties are a little bit untucked, and the coaches are just having a good time, and the energy is just great.
That game was being billed as a potential ACC championship preview. And if that was the preview for the ACC championship, then everybody knew at the end of that night who the favorite was. And people were going to have to stop asking so many ridiculous questions about Clemson. Like, oh, are they going to handle this 19th test in a row? Yes, because they handled the other 18.
What a big win for the Tigers on the road in Lane Stadium against a very difficult Hokie team and Hokie crowd. Their third win already this season against a ranked opponent. And what can you say about Kelly Bryant, the answer under center for the Tigers, doing a fantastic job of replacing Deshaun Watson? But it's all about the defense in this one. Shutting down the Hokies, interception return by Dorian O'Daniel, spectacular performance overall by the D, and that's what makes this one of Clemson's greatest games.
Clemson's Greatest Games is brought to you by Roto-Rooter. When you need a local plumber fast, call Roto-Rooter. And by First National Bank. Find a branch or ATM near you at fnb-online.com.